The Monolith of Fate is entering a new stage in development with many new features, actual progression and new shiny loot. Let's see what the game director Judd had to say about it. Hey everyone, this is Thyworm and today let's talk about the dev blog regarding the upcoming Monolith changes. I will cover the blog and give you my thoughts. Enjoying less deeper content, consider subscribing. Let's start with a small recap of the Monolith in its current form. The Monolith of Fate is one of two available endgame systems next to the Arena, where you get to choose between two timelines. Add more difficult, persisting modifiers on top of those timelines, thereby increasing loot and monster difficulty. And most importantly, the Monolith currently scales with your level. Judd explains the reasoning behind this, which I honestly never really thought of. By having character level scaling, it makes the Monolith accessible for anyone and there's something to do at any level. Makes perfect sense. While it wasn't perhaps the most engaging system out there in action RPG land, it kept people busy for at least a while, and in the meantime 11th Hour Games worked on an update, and that update will soon be unleashed upon us. In this update, the character scaling doesn't exist anymore, and this has some consequences. One of the primary results of this change is that you can't power level your character anymore after you've reached the end of time. Currently, you can just skip most of the campaign, dive into the Monolith and gain levels really fast. That is a thing of the past soon. In the future, the Monolith is only accessible after you have completed the campaign, which will be around level 50. The scaling makes place for concrete goals to work towards, so what are those concrete goals? The Monolith of Fate is basically turned into a whole endgame zone with quests, modifiers and a healthy amount of RNG. Quite some aspects are very similar to what we used to have with timelines that are now called echoes, as in echoes from the past, and they behave in the same way too. The zones I just spoke of, they are now called timelines. It's a little confusing at the start, so let me paint you a small picture of the new setup as I understand it. At the very top we have the Monolith of Fate, which is accessible by interacting with this massive stone, which used to look a bit like a menhir. By opening up the Monolith, you get an overview of the available timelines to you. Timelines are depicted as zones in this map. It looks like we're getting 7 timelines so far. The Fall of the Outcasts, the Stolen Land, Blood, Frost and Death, Ending the Storm, the Black Sun, and then 2 more. Each timeline has their own level requirements, as the Fall of the Outcasts is level 55 and the Stolen Land is 62, and the other ones will be even higher level. Opening a specific timeline presents this menu, which is rather similar to the current Monolith of Fate. You see the specific timeline you're in at the top of the menu, you see your available choices, and you see your current modifiers at the center. At the very start, the entire Monolith of Fate and all its timelines are locked. After you complete the campaign, the first timeline opens up, which is the Fall of the Outcasts. In that timeline, you need to complete echoes. Echoes are basically what all timelines used to be, and they behave the same way too. You can complete more echoes, get more modifiers, get more loot. So, how do you get from one timeline to another? Well, by completing enough echoes, in this case 8 echoes apparently, in order to spawn a special echo, the Quest Echo. Which Quest Echo you get is dependent on the path you take within that timeline, and there are multiple paths to explore. The Quest Echo is the final stop of that timeline, and completing this special Quest Echo unlocks the next timeline. So, completing the Majelka Streets Quest Echo of the Fall of the Outcasts timeline would unlock the Stolen Land timeline. In addition, choices you made in the first timeline carry over to the second one. It's not crystal clear what that means, but I can imagine that the modifiers you've built up during those 8 echoes simply carry over to the next timeline. That would make a lot of sense to me at least. But this is not all. Completing a timeline also grants a blessing. Blessings are permanent buffs that apply inside and outside of the Monolith. We are teased by one blessing already, the Blessing of Fate, which increases the unique drop rate by 14%. These blessings basically permanently increase the power of your character. Blessings are randomly generated, I guess from a pool of blessings that is specific to that particular timeline, and you can keep doing that timeline over and over again to get the best possible blessing for your character. Every time you complete the Quest Echo again, you get to choose new blessings from 3 options, and you can repeat this until you get the blessing you want. You have the option as well to simply forfeit your new choices and keep your old blessing instead. And And there are specific loot tables for each timeline. And in those loot tables you can find feisty uniques, of which this atrophy is one example. Not the most riveting unique I've ever witnessed, but could be interesting nonetheless. More importantly though, these uniques add another layer of grind and progression to this whole new timeline. Multiply this by 7, assuming we get 7 timelines, and this whole new Monolith of Fate endgame system has a massive amount of content. But we're still not done, because, ladies and gentlemen, you can also empower the lower level timelines. How exactly isn't clear. I'm assuming by completing higher level timelines. The result, however, of an improved timeline is an improved pool of blessings. However, the monsters will also gain levels and power, of course. Eventually, I'm sure you will be empowering a lot of timelines this way and potentially create some extremely difficult and rewarding content, depending a bit on how fleshed out this system is at the launch of 0.7.9. I will admit that after reading the patch preview notes, I wasn't really sure about the claim that this was the biggest patch yet, as it seemed at the time that 0.7.8 was a lot bigger. After this devlog and the sheer content they were getting from this monolith, I'm definitely convinced. Needless to say, I'm very much looking forward to this system, as the Monolith of Fate is my favorite content to run anyway, and I can't wait to try out this new stuff. Personal patch prediction, I'm guessing we're getting it early next week, based on how stuff was done in the past. Tuesday, I would say. That's it for now. Please note that most of this video is purely based off of the dev blog. I haven't actually played the Monolith, obviously. You can expect some guys later on, after I sank some significant number of hours into the new system, after the next patch drops. I hope you enjoyed the video, ladies and gents. Thanks so much for watching and making it to the end. See you soon. Bye bye.